Cheers, Moss. I'll drink to that one.
And we're live.
All right.
Well, I feel like I might be, but...
Well, live, maybe not alive. Just a...
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well. My eyes are managing to open occasionally. This has been a rough morning.
I think it's going to be a very rough morning for most folks out there. The one after New Year's always seems to be.
Well, I drank a lot last night, but I never seemed to actually get drunk.
Oh.
It was mostly Fireball.
Oh, tasty. A little cinnamon whiskey.
Yeah, it's only 33%, though. It's hard to get plastered on it.
Oh, my. Not for me.
Drink it with a straw.
Yeah, there you go. Straight to the head.
Cinnamon flavored Kool-Aid, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
No, you're not.
Wake up call. There's the alarm.
Time to go. Time to go make the donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Time to go make the chimichangas. All right. Oh, hopefully Norbert can join. And Bill, were you able to make it on to the New Year's HPR show yesterday?
I was not.
Okay.
No, New Year's was a bit of a crazy scenario.
Yeah, I was there all day, even when I wasn't home. I just put it on mute and went away for a while.
Well, no, I guess that's a lie. I did get on for about 10 minutes, and when I found out about Betty White being dead, I went upstairs and got sidetracked with the wife talking about that.
Yeah, isn't that sad? But she did make it 99 years, so
Yeah, a couple of weeks away from 100.
Right.
She gave her life so that we would have a good 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite the sacrifice.
Yep.
Gee, too bad I'm not on Zoom. I could put a background on this wall.
Right.
That's what I need to do too.
Oh gosh, yeah. I hope everybody enjoys looking at my extra fridge.
I have OBS. I
Let
could
me
probably
block those.
put a background in if I wanted.
Yeah, other people around here do the decorating, not myself. My mother, who thinks this is still Mom's house, you know, even though she lives with me.
Right on. So I was trying out that Nitrix yesterday on, was it Nishant's behest? Because I was interested in that cask desktop, and I was going to bring it on here and talk about it on the show, and unfortunately, it about 30% works. You can't open the settings. You can't even shut down directly from the desktop. All the buttons don't work. But
Wow.
it's not their default desktop environment. It's a KDE distro, albeit a very well, one of the most customized KDE.
Yeah, very highly modified KDE.
Yeah, it is. It's got its own completely different icon theme and
I
layout.
cannot wrap my head around that distro. I just can't. It's like, I'm doing what now? I'm installing it how? I'm putting what where?
I would probably spend so much time customizing what they've got laid out that I would end up just making it back into something closer to the default experience for KDE anyway, or excuse me, Plasma.
Well, I don't want to get Leo going, but I actually am running Arco Linux Mate on one of my machines.
How's that going?
It is great. It's the first Arch distro I've ever found that will run from some Debian distro's grub.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's unusual.
And it runs beautifully, and they say the more you use it, the more they show you how to move towards pure Arch, but in the beginning, it's a beginner's distro like crazy. It's really easy to use.
No, I've been.
I tried. I've got Mate and UKUI loaded. I tried the Qfish and I tried the Plasma, and for some reason their Plasma repos are not working, so I couldn't update them.
Hmm.
Strange.
I've been on Arch since 2013, and every time I try to get off, I just end up going right back. I couldn't
Well,
tell you why.
I really could use Arco as if I were using Linux Mint Mate. It's that similar and that simple.
Well, I've ordered a full-on desktop tower system, Ryzen 7, whole 9 yards, and when that comes, I'm gonna put Mint on that, and that's gonna be my driver machine down here. I don't want to use the word daily driver because I'm going to put this back upstairs, but
Yeah.
that's what I'll have down here to record shows on.
Well, the guys that know me know that I'm Mint when I need to get stuff done and Bodhi when I want to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
haven't
still
looked at
working
Bodhi in a long
with Bodhi?
time.
Moss, you still working with the Bodhi team?
I still am. They're actually looking at putting together some promo videos for YouTube and having me do the narration on them.
No, very nice.
Now that desktop they use, is that close to Enlightenment, or
It's a
have they
fork of-
diverged away from it?
It's a fork of E17, but they've got almost all the new features from the later Enlightenments brought back in as much as they can with the old libraries that they're using.
Okay.
It's almost completely rewritten A17.
That was the wrong link. Ignore that one.
Hi, Mom. That's Mom.
Well, I wish I could say that, but it's been almost a year now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear it.
That's the right link. Alright, I shared a link in general for the show notes. It is editable. I know, Moss, you still need to be added back as admin. You know what? I might be able to... I'm not going to figure it out right this minute.
Oh, you shared a link for YouTube in general, in public.
Right. I put links for the YouTube in public, but in general under crew, I put a link for the show notes.
Oh, okay. Wow, I'm behind on some of this stuff. Let's see, in general, under... Sure you did.
Trying to get this stuff to work on a Raspberry Pi 400 is making me want to chuck this thing out the window.
What, the 400?
Yeah. It is what it is.
There it is, Moss.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get it open. Hey, I got it opened. Now blow it up to 150 so I can read it. And someone better get me up on the names.
Is it the bottom one or?
It's the bottom
two
one.
of them?
The top one is not editable. The bottom one is.
Oh, okay.
That is a whole different setup, huh? We're still pushing Bo's emails. When has he been on my latest?
Yeah, that's true. We're still pushing emails to Bo.
And Tony has officially resigned.
Yeah, but he's, still got his hand in. And he's talking that he might eventually come back too if his health improves and his wife's health improves. I have high hopes.
All right.
Okay, got my contact stuff there. We aren't still using the backup mumble room for HPR, are we?
No,
We've got
it's
our own
gone
mumble
now.
room. Well,
It's
I'm
gone
taking
now.
that out of the show notes. Ha 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 ha. Well, Well, it's not. But I guess it's gone. But they've changed their mumble room to a different location.
Well,
I'm sure they'd let us have one back, but we've got our own mumbles still.
no. What they've done is what they did for the HPR show was they used Delwyn's server, which is the same server that Tilts and the Linux Lugcast is on. So I don't know if they're like using it to record the monthly HPR show there or what, but.
Well, we have our own mumble server running still. We've been using it for distro hoppers.
Yeah.
Mumble.mintcast.org.
I didn't even know about that one.
Mhm.
Actually, last night was the first time I'd used Mumble.
Well, mumble.mintcast.org, isn't that run by young Josh?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on our website.
Is that Josh Hawk?
Yeah.
No, the other Josh.
The
Oh.
original Josh.
There's so many Josh that I can't keep.
When I
Yeah,
say young
we're
Josh,
over
I mean
Josh.
a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he'd be 18 now, wouldn't he?
I think he's graduated and did an internship with Intel or something like that, and now he's got a real job, but he's still pushing his little programming thing. It keeps bouncing off my forebrain, and I know the name here. And he basically has a program that converts from Scratch to regular Python code.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember he did a lot with Scratch.
EduBlocks, yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Tappity, tappity, clack, clack.
Mechanical keyboards all around. Has anyone got the live chat up? Anyone in there with us?
It
I
doesn't look like it. I got it up, and I don't see anybody.
do
All
have
right.
it brought up. Let me. Yeah, like one person has jumped on, and that's it.
I wonder if that's...
6 playbacks. Yeah, that might be one of you guys. We might not get anybody today. I don't know. It is, you know.
Oh, 2 watching. That must be you.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm watching from the studio.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But it is January 1st, so let's not be surprised if people have better things to do today.
You know, like,
Well, at least we have
sleeping.
each other.
Yeah,
treat their headaches.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was just curious if is Nishant supposed to be on this one too?
He said he was going to try, I think.
Yeah, Nishant said he might get on from his phone, but he had to travel today.
You're coming in a little quiet, Joe.
That's because I'm far away from my microphone. Is that better?
There we go.
The problem with moving my mic here is then it starts interfering with the camera.
It's pretty to look at, though.
Yeah, it's very colorful. Well, I guess I got it low enough that it's not really interfering. But I should sound better.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it
You're
does.
coming in
It's-
much better. Look at that, Bill. I'm kind of copying you today, huh? I think we got the same Samson Q2U with the pop filter going here.
Oh, you got one? Yeah.
Yeah, when I came onto mintCast, I started with a cardioid mic, and yeah, that didn't work out so well, so I picked up one of these.
I had no idea what to get. I was coming out of nowhere with this stuff, and so thankfully Joe was kind enough to recommend this one, and I just went with it.
Yep, it's a good mic. This is actually the one that Joe Resington recommends.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
people that are just beginning into podcasting. It's obviously not the most expensive, best mic, but
What
it's
mic
good
is
to
that?
go.
I've been typing and can't hear you.
Oh, Samsung Q2U.
Okay.
Samsung, not Samsung.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Samsung.
I cheaped out. I've got a CAD USB, and it's been working fine since I got it.
Oh, a CAD. That's what I had previously. Is it the U30? No, you don't have U37.
No, this is just a CAD USB. That's the
Yep.
whole name of it, and it cost me maybe $15 on Amazon, and it works just great.
Can't go wrong with that.
Well, Josh, are you just running it USB straight into the
Yes, sir. I don't
computer?
have a mixer or anything.
I got one of these things. One of these,
Oh, okay.
and that's what I was running last week when we were having all the trouble, and I ended up just undoing it and hooking it up straight, and that solved all the problems. So
Yeah,
either
good
I'm
one.
just too thick to figure out how to get it to work right, or
I'm with you. I figure just go USB in and hopefully it turns out all right.
yeah.
Well, the Q2U that you guys are using, I know you both have had it hooked up over USB, but it has sounded excellent since the day you got them. So
Good.
Good to hear.
I'm not gonna mess with it then.
my next microphone purchase will probably be the Q2U.
I think it was not very expensive at all, considering it came with these headphones, and
I traded a tablet for this microphone. My other Samsung that I had, what was it, the Meteor, which eventually died. I used that for like 3 years, but I only paid like $30 for that one.
I can't beat that.
And then before that, I was using the Snowball, which I still have somewhere.
That's a popular one.
Yeah, I've got a Yeti over here, and I was using that when I started the show, but it always sounded a lot thinner and echoier, and so I got the CAD.
Yeah. And man, Joe, you got a fist bump from the wife, man. You must be doing something right. I haven't got one of those in forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we had a good vacation. It was fun.
Good.
how was your drive back? You never did answer me.
Oh, probably because I didn't hear you. No, the drive back wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't as rainy on the way back as it was on the way there. So,
Was it hot and humid where you were?
no, we got there and it was freezing cold. And it's like,
Oh, wow.
I went to Florida from Texas and I'm freezing. Why is this?
Yeah, it's been cold out here on the left coast.
Well, it's supposed to get down to like 19 this weekend.
Ooh, that's actually worse than where I'm at.
It's like, why do I live in Texas if it's going to get this way twice a year?
I think it's going to be like 9 degrees here.
See, that's a big nope for me, but
Yeah.
you're also not in Texas.
No,
Where you at, Bill?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, okay. Man, you guys got some cold temperatures.
Yeah, I got family probably relatively close to you. Because, South Bend and Elkhart, I got a lot of family.
Oh, that's where my sister lives in
Yeah.
South Bend. Yeah. And my mom is actually staying with her right now. My birth mom. I found out when I was 45 that I was adopted at birth. And then found them on YouTube. That's an interesting story.
Sounds like it.
Oh, gosh.
So Notre Dame territory, yeah?
My brother is a huge Notre Dame fan.
Hey, go fighting Irish.
Yeah. And
They usually just fight each other, but you know.
I know I'm from, I'm not from, my family is from Ireland. Ireland and England.
I think most of us can trace our heritage back to somewhere in England or Ireland at some point.
More than likely.
Ireland and
Scotland.
Norway and Scotland.
Mm.
I'm mostly Irish and Norwegian, but the particular branch of the Irish family had very greatly intermingled with the Scottish. So,
Well, I am quarter Scots. Both of my family names turn out to be Franco-Norman. Even though we thought they were both Welsh, we traced them back and found they were Franco-Norman and actually like first cousins to the Plantagenet family. And then I also got 1/8 German, and who knows what all else. Mostly, whatever. When the Normans moved to England, they started breeding with Englishmen. You know.
Yep. I'm German as well. My daughter got me this for Christmas, which I
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I'm into all the, Celtic stuff and paganism and all that wonderful things.
Well, when I thought I was Welsh, I was really into all the Celtic stuff. Now I found out that my closest is that 1/4 Scots. I'm not so much. It's too cold up there.
Yeah, you feel that one in the joints for sure, especially as you get older.
You smoke those things?
What's that?
Joints.
The joints.
Oh,
He was talking about his joints.
oh. Not those joints. No, I'm federally regulated as a commercial driver, as Bill can attest to. So
I very much can, yes.
yeah. So this is as far as I go. Never had the stomach for the stuff anyway.
Well, as
Yeah.
you know, Distro Hoppers features Dale Miracle, who is also an over-the-road driver and is on the road right now.
Oh, is he?
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, tough time of year to be over the road. There's Norbert.
There's
a lot.
Norbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind, Moss. I propositioned Dale to come on to mintCast and maybe do one of his deep dives into Linux Mint, because he does such a great job with that kind of research and stuff.
Oh, not a problem. I really into Dale. Dale is not into himself. We've had to really build his whole, personality into. He really thinks he's nothing and nobody, and he's just brilliant. And yeah,
That's fantastic. I love those deep dives. So I asked him if he'd do one for Mint if it wouldn't interfere with distro hoppers, and he said he'd be willing to do it. So hope to see him on there soon.
well, you've also read his articles on itsmoss.com, I hope.
Yes, I did, and fantastic work there as well.
I have to edit him pretty heavily, but nonetheless, the brain behind it is incredible.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that history of the GUI. Looking forward to the next installment.
Yeah, the first 2 installments have been picked up by Full Circle Magazine. They show up in that.
Oh, good. Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a share and share alike license and actually a share and share alike agreement with Full Circle Magazine. Anything they publish, we can put on its Moss. We publish on its Moss, they can put in the magazine. But the way Ronnie is, we have to literally send in the text and all the images and everything for him to publish.
Yeah, I guess it goes that way sometimes.
Been really something working on this news podcast.
Yeah. Speaking of podcasts, Norbert.
We got another photo bomb in the back. Josh? You got another photo bomber.
That's my daughter coming in to, getting ready to do some gaming. Hey, Lydia.
Hi, Norbert.
Hi. She's going to say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
That's my 19-year-old.
As well as Good New Year. Oh, Happy New Year.
My
Happy New Year.
18-year-old is about to turn 19 this month.
Oh, you poor man.
Yeah.
Yep.
All I want to say is get a job every time I see her.
Oh,
Yeah, tell her to get her own apartment. It's time.
Right? This
We're
generation
moving
isn't
on
like
out.
at 32.
I don't get it. I mean, I had my first job when I was like 11, and then I had moved out by the time I was 17.
Oh, you went early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had my first car when I was 14.
Yeah, I had my first car when I was 14. Yeah.
I
Won
don't
that
want
in
to
a bet
drive
against
now.
my dad.
1968 Plymouth Fury 3 with a 318 in it. It was
Oh, where is that
beautiful.
now?
Oh, my dad sold it, and then he did it the stupid way, and told the guy that the guy could make payments because he was a friend, and signed over the title, and then the
Yeah.
guy just didn't pay.
I had that happen once, yeah.
Yeah.
Once.
And then, well, my second car, gosh, it was a little red car. What was it? I can't even remember. It wasn't a Beretta. It
I had
was
one of those.
Corsica. I had a
Right.
Corsica. I also had a Beretta later on, but I had a Corsica, and that was a great little car. I put that like 3,000 miles on that thing the first like month I had it, and I drove that thing into the ground. But it was a great car to have. And then I had a 1978. What was it? Gran Torino Elite with a
Oh, yeah,
351 Cleveland in it, and that thing was a beauty. Oh my God! And then I also had I had a Tempo for a while there, and that thing was a piece of crap to start with and end with.
yes.
And then I had a 1978, but this was a Chevy, the full size Chevy Blazer, and that
Oh,
thing would
yeah,
do
K5.
it had a 383 stroker and 411 gears, and that would do a four-wheel smoke show, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
At 6 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
Not my kind of car.
But that was when gas was like 99 cents a gallon, so I didn't care that it was a bit of a gas hog.
Yeah, when I was in high school, it was 29 cents a gallon at the expensive stations and 19 at the cheap.
Yeah.
Holy goodness.
Yeah, I've got a memory of Dad pulling into a gas station, and it was a Texaco station, which don't exist around here anymore. And it was 44 cents a gallon. He drove right back out. He said he wasn't paying that.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, isn't
The
it?
signs didn't even have a third digit on them in those days.
Yeah.
My Gran Torino Elite, my dad's old boss was supposed to be storing the car for me, and I was supposed to be able to go by and pick it up when I went on leave because I left for the military and came back and was going to go get my vehicle. Evidently, he crushed it.
Oh, that's
Wow.
disgusting.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of small, weird cars. The first car I actually owned was a Citroen DS19.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
wow.
In America?
Oh, yeah. It had so much rust in it I could watch the road between my feet.
Well, one of the
I
car.
know what you're talking about.
One of the cars that one of my friends had that I kind of wanted was the Chevy Vega, the Chevy Vega
Oh,
wagon,
My dad had one of those.
and that's like the smallest wagon that I had ever seen at the time. But it has such a large front end that you could easily drop a 350 in there with no problems,
Okay.
and turn it into a drag car if you wanted.
Oh, my cousin did drag race a Vega. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
did exactly that. He took a 350, he stroked it out, and we actually sat in his driveway and we made a hood scoop for it out of a street sign. And he said, now I can say I'm government funded.
Well, I am currently running, I bought my wife a 2013 Hyundai Accent hatchback, and I am driving a Mazda 2. I'm trying to sell it, but nobody wants to buy it because it's got stick shift.
Isn't that the
How much are
thing?
you selling it for?
Well, the blue book says I could get up to 75 for it, and I'm asking 6,000.
That's actually not too bad.
That's
Now,
not
somebody
bad at all.
did ask if it was the original clutch, and I really don't know, but it's got 150,000 miles on it, and the clutch feels good to me, so I kind of doubt it's the original clutch.
It depends on who drove it before. It's becoming a lost art. But I'll tell you, they get you both ways. When you try to find a manual transmission car, good luck. I go out of my way to find manuals, and they always charge you more, saying they're rare. Then when you go to trade it in, they say,
Oh, it's a
"Well,
manual.
you can't-
Nobody's going to
yeah,
buy it.
it's a manual. No one's going to buy it, so we can't give you as much." It's
You know,
ridiculous.
I
I've been
remember in,
looking for other cars, and almost every time in this area, if I see a manual transmission car for sale, it's like $4,000 less than the same thing with the automatic transmission.
Yep.
It's
Twice
just
as
the
durable.
opposite in Europe. I remember when I was in the army in Germany, I bought an Opel Kadett, and that had a 4 on the floor.
Oh, those are
And,
great. I wish they sold those over here. Those cars are awesome.
Uh,
Well, my
yeah.
Mazda is just too damn much fun to drive. I get out there and zoom, and
I don't mind a stick whatsoever, but yeah, no, the people are not learning how to. People are they're using their left foot to hit the brakes.
yeah.
You ever notice? You ever got in a car with somebody and they hit the brake with their left foot and
Two-footed driver.
Yeah.
These days they call it stick shift a millennial anti-theft protection device.
Oh, yes, millennials.
Right. Yeah. So you weren't impressed with the Opel too much, huh, Bill?
Oh, no, what? I bought it for $75 and
Oh my.
it drove it was fine. We had to do a little work because over there you have to get a car inspected every time you're going to get plates for it.
Right.
And I put a little work into it. And, there was nothing special about it, but I mean, it got up and went, It was all European specs. It was in Germany. But it ended up blowing up on me. And then I bought a 78 Volkswagen Golf GTI. And that was a rocket on wheels, and that was also German spec. Yeah. And it was also a 4 on the floor with the big old golf ball on the shifter.
Oh yeah.
I loved that car. I'd get on the Autobahn and them big 5 Series Beamers. They could blow me away on the straightaways, but we'd go around a curve and them big fat tires would just go right around it. I mean, I could take a 90-degree turn like it wasn't nothing.
So I want to refresh myself. I know where Joe and Josh are. Where are you at, Bill?
Northern Indiana, in Fort Wayne.
Okay, Norbert?
Yeah, I'm from Hungary, Central
Hungary.
Europe, Eastern Central Europe.
Oh.
I know where Hungary is. I'm a geography trainer, but yeah. In one of the major cities or out in the country?
No, I'm a 10-minute drive from Budapest, so the capital.
Yes.
And
That sounds so cool.
I couldn't really add to the car discussion because I'm the kind of person who just wants to get from A to B, point A to point B. So, and public transport is really well built out here. So I just
there really
take the
isn't
bus.
any here.
Yeah.
It never was. It never got to be. I mean, in the big major cities it is, but
Well, they tried out here in California, but Jerry Brown just wound up squandering billions of taxpayer dollars on a train that goes to nowhere.
so much of American ego is wrapped up in cars that it just never has become part of our collective culture over here. Like I said, unless you're in a major metropolitan area.
Right, New York,
Well,
Chicago.
Knoxville doesn't have a bad bus system, but it only runs within the limits.
Well, you go to European cities, and their public transportation is so good you can show up 15 minutes before you want to leave and get on, if you can understand how it works. But over here, it's just never even. I mean, like I said, the major cities is okay, but it'll never rival the European cities, I don't think.
No.
They got a few thousand years head start on us on just about everything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to know if it got finished, which it never did. You'd be bragging about it if it got finished, because we're so far behind in mass transit, especially rail, behind the rest of the world.
They chose the most ridiculous route possible. It's like something I don't remember. It's like Fresno to Bakersfield or something. It's like no one's trying to go to either one of those cities. So yeah.
Well, if they could have gotten to Sacramento and then across to San Francisco, they'd have something. But
exactly, yeah. If you were doing some of those major cities, then it would have made sense. But how they ran it, and then they decided that they weren't even going to build their own rails for it. They were going to run on Amtrak rails. So really, what we got was just.
I don't think you'd run a high-speed train on Amtrak rails.
You wouldn't want to.
I wouldn't want to. Nope.
Nope. So I don't even know what they built, but they apparently are still in the middle of it because they still have the funding and the contractors paid. I don't know.
I think they're talking about putting one in from like Toledo to Chicago, and it's supposed to dip down into Fort Wayne and then all the way out. And I mean, it would literally mean people could live in Fort Wayne and work in Chicago. It would have a huge
Yeah.
economic impact.
Yeah, that one actually makes sense.
But
Yeah,
they've
the
been
new
talking
infrastructure
about it
bill
for
has
10
quite a
years.
bit of beefing up for Amtrak.
Not like in Texas where you ride horses, right, Joe?
Yeah, everywhere to work every
Get on
day.
your horse. Yep.
I don't know about horses, but man, oh man, have they got some pickup trucks down there.
Reminds me of my old Texas joke.
What's
But,
that?
the rancher is bragging to a Swede about how big his ranch is, that he can get in his car and drive all day and not get to the end of his ranch. And the Swede goes, "Yeah, I once had a car like that too."
Excellent. I know when I used to run teams, I'd go out west, and truck speed limits across Texas used to be 55 miles an hour at night. They used to have, what was it? You had like 4 different speed limits depending on day and night.
Yeah.
And
And whether or not
It
you were a truck.
exactly. Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, I remember 40 years ago on a soap opera where a character said, "Hell is driving across Texas at 55 miles an hour."
Nobody did it.
Imagine. Yeah.
But it was the one
a
state I could
lifetime.
remember you could go to bed, let your co-driver drive all day, get back up, and you were still in Texas. It was, that's a huge place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Tennessee's a huge place from end to end, just not top to bottom.
Yeah, it's about 400 some miles across there.
457, I believe, on I-40.
Yeah, I
And
was just down
California
there.
is exactly the opposite. It's a bit narrow, but very long.
I was in Tennessee last week. Whereabouts are you down there?
He's in the Central Valley area.
Okay, I was down in Dixon.
Actually, more in the mountains, but Central Valley.
You were asking about California, Bill?
No,
Yeah.
I was at Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee? I'm about 22 miles outside of Knoxville.
Okay, we've got a customer down in Dandridge, Tennessee.
Yeah, I lived in Dandridge for a year. I'm
Okay.
about 25 miles from there now.
Yeah, we go to that Ball Cannery right there next to the Bush Beans factory.
Oh, that's not actually Dandridge. That's Walnut Hill.
Yeah, I know, but it says Dandridge on the paper.
That's Chestnut Hill. I get my nuts mixed up. Yeah, that right next to the Bush Beans place.
Got a brand new highway going right by the place.
Yeah, that's US 411.
311.
411.
411?
411.
Let's just look that up, shall we?
It's either 411 or 441. Those are the only two highways in that area.
I think I need to move to Plano. They make the best sodas and chips.
In Illinois?
Oh, in Texas.
Oh, Plano. Okay, yeah.
Well, my office is right across the street from Pizza Hut's corporate office. So,
Oh my. Look at there.
and one of the chip companies.
And
Frito-Lay it would be if it's Pizza Hut, because that's all PepsiCo historically.
yeah, I used to work for Pizza Hut way back in the day.
The old guy that was the bigwig that owned all the Pizza Huts up here passed away not long ago, and he, in his will, he gave away his estate to whatever organization turned it into a museum, and he didn't actually offer insurance as a benefit to his employees, but one thing he was known for doing was footing the entire bill if he had a employee get sick.
That's cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stuff like that makes all the difference in the world, I think.
It's a rarity.
Yeah, it is. my boss will buy you a fancy $120,000 truck, but he doesn't want to offer very good insurance.
No,
It is what it
a
is.
guy like that, yeah, that was he told us, well, I'm sorry, I can't afford to pay you guys extra or to provide insurance. And the next day, he pulled up in a brand new GMC lifted pickup, and his wife drove a brand new Tahoe, and yeah, I was like, oh, well.
So how long do we sit here talking to nobody about nothing?
I guess as long as we want, considering no one's listening.
Mm.
We're just here for each other.
It is New Year's.
Yep.
Maybe people will come by and watch it later.
Yeah, it will exist in the ether for all eternity,
Mm-hmm.
presumably.
This chair is not as comfortable as it was all day yesterday.
Oh, time for some pillows.
No, shoot. I'll be right back.
That would make it less comfortable. Pillows I've got.
Oh, no, that doesn't work then.
Nah. I hate these cheap office chairs. Even when they have arms that you can move out of the way, the backs are stationary to the seat.
Yeah. I just actually got a new chair for Christmas, thanks to my mother. It's my gift, and it's for the big and tall variety, which I'm bigger but not tall. So,
Well,
but it is well cushioned at least.
Yeah.
y'all heard the story of my chair, so I've only had that for like, what, a month, 2 months? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the cover's working out nice.
I like my chair. Well, it's just a blanket. You know, I replace it every now and again. This one's one of the Star Wars blankets, so it's actually got like Darth Vader on it instead of the Krampus that the other one has on it.
That's right. It was Krampus that you had on there. I remember that. Yeah. Very cool. And can't
Hey,
be free.
Joe, did you get that? There was a short Demon Squad story that Tim Markwitz released last month.
No, I did not pick that up. Let me take a look. Did it come out in audio?
I don't think so, but he basically just sent it out on his Twitter account. It was just a short he gave it away to everyone that was on his Twitter feed. I can probably find a way to send you a copy. I don't remember what I downloaded it to.
I'm bringing it up. How many books are there in the series now?
Oh, there haven't been any new ones lately. We're really getting
10.
upset with him. He's writing other series now. And he keeps trying to get... He's not making any money on his writing, so he's trying to get editing jobs, freelance.
That's understandable. Number
Keep
10,
meaning
when
to
was
check
that
out.
written? Institutionalized. When?
Oh, yeah, that one I actually financed.
Oh, published October 31st, 2016. So, yeah, it's been
been a while.
5 years, 6 years, 6 years now.
But he had about a 6 or 7 page short story of Frank taking on, in that town that Frank lives in. Apparently Krampus and some other goons had already completely demolished a children's hospital, and he was going after them to stop them from getting a second one.
I keep meaning to check out the Dresden Files. I remember you guys talking about that on mintCast quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of Dresden Files burnt out at this point.
Yeah.
Well, there's only a few books to go, but you really weren't that happy with the last.
Yeah, you know, and everybody's like, oh, upset that, what's her name died. Karen Murphy died.
You spoiled me there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoilers,
My bad.
spoilers.
I'm still in what is it? He's working supposedly with Nicodemus right now.
Okay.
So that's the last book before the last two.
So he's already the Winter Knight.
But I keep reading in all the spoiler type wikis that Butters was going to pick up one of the swords, and he hasn't done that yet.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you when that happens?
I'm checking out.
Do you want me to tell you when that happens?
I'll wait.
Okay.
But
Not
it
for-
hasn't happened yet.
Not for very long. You won't.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not like there's a lot of books left. I mean, if you're on Cold Days, then there's what?
Yeah.
Three more books.
I think it's only the last two that the split two.
Let me see. Dresden Files. No, there should be Ghost Story, Cold Days, Skin Game, and then Peace Talks and Battleground. If you're on Cold Days, then there should be Skin Game, Peace Talks, and Battle. No, you're on Skin Game.
No, I'm on Skin Game now.
You're on Skin Game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Peace Talks and Battleground are all that's left after that.
The new ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he writes more. Supposedly there's going to be 22 in the series, and then he's going to have the monster trilogy at the end.
Right, the big apocalyptic trilogy. And the next book is supposed to be Mirror Mirror. And yeah, it's supposed to be heavily related to the Star Trek episode Mirror Mirror.
Well, before Ghost Story, it all could be happening in the world we're living in. From Ghost Story on, there's no way. The world just completely diverges.
Yeah, maybe.
What's the
Also,
premise behind this whole show?
when he hits, you'll see it when it hits Peace Talks, because there's a big gap between Skin Game and Peace Talks, but he starts kind of like changing some of the rules in Peace Talks. Granted, he did change some of the rules previously, like the Fae being able to enter your home as long as they're not, against you. As long as they're not going to do anything bad to you, they can enter your home as long as they're friendly towards you. Yeah. Well, if they have ill intentions,
when they walk in, but then what happens?
if they have ill intentions, they actually cannot physically enter your home, according to him. But they can if they do not have ill intentions.
Well, again, they're the Fae.
That was a rule change that he kind of explained away, and then the whole cats being able to walk over circles without breaking circles. That was another rule change that kind of just got tossed in there.
Norbert just looks so left out of all of this.
No, I just pictured Santa Claus because he can also. I would imagine it would be the same. Santa Claus can enter homes.
Well, Santa Claus is actually in the books. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Chris Kringle, yeah.
Yeah. But
and he is sort of Fae, and he also runs with the Wild Hunt.
A lot of things change hard into Peace Talks, and it kind of annoys me, like some of the stuff with Ramirez and Ramirez's stance on things, like just. But whatever.
Ramirez is always a good guy.
Yeah, well, he still is, but yeah, he kind of forgets who his friends are.
Is it just the books, or has it been adapted to TV?
There is a TV show, but it's completely it's completely different from the books. Like they kept the names, and that was about it.
They kept the names. I mean, Karen even was black hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was
and then Ancient Mai wasn't ancient.
Yeah. There was only actually one episode in the TV series that even looked like they read the books instead of just read a synopsis of them.
Right. And then Bob was all wrong.
Now, in 2017, Fox 21 Television did option the series for. They're trying to plan a new series of it.
Yeah.
It's been a few years.
I keep hearing buzz that there's going to be another TV show, and they're actually going to try and do it right, but it's going to be difficult for them to match up with the books in any way that they do it. So
I do agree with you that it's worth reading Dresden, even though I read all of Demon Squad. I remember that was one of my problems in the beginning. What kept me from reading Dresden was, well, I read Demon Squad, and everyone keeps comparing Demon Squad to Dresden, and so I didn't know what I need Dresden for.
Yeah.
Tim has remained consistent in his stories, though.
Yeah. And at least he's not Patrick Rothfuss.
I don't even know that name.
Oh, the King Killer Chronicles. Currently, there's 2 books in the main series of the King Killer Chronicles, and it was like 7 years between the first one and the second one. And then there's been like 10 years now that I've been waiting for the third one.
That's sort of like the way Phil Farmer was in the old days. He wrote Riverworld. He wrote a second Riverworld novel, and then it took 2 years before he got the third one. And then the third one was so big that they split it into 2, and it made us wait 2 years between the first half and the second half of the novel.
Okay, I was wrong. There was 4 years between The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear, and that was 2007 when The Name of the Wind came out. Really good book, don't get me wrong. And then 2011 when The Wise Man's Fear came out. And then the third book, The Doors of Stone, it's listed as forthcoming. It still has not been finished yet, and it's 11 years now.
You know, yesterday when you got kind of talked over, Joe, you mentioned R.A. Salvatore. Were you a Drizzt fan?
Oh yeah, as younger, mostly when I was younger, I was a big Drizzt fan, and you know, we were talking about how Tolkien likes to get excessively into detail, and how that was probably why I didn't much like him. But Salvatore, now there's a guy that can really get into the detail, especially when it comes to combat. A lot of people that have read Salvatore don't like him because of how detailed he gets with combat. But
I got my daughter a compendium release from him, and she gave up very quickly. I was like, but you didn't even get to the whirling scimitars yet.
right. But no,
I've been a big Tolkien fan. Like I said, I was in junior high when the second edition paperback came out, which was the first so-called authorized edition from Ballantine. And,
right.
That's how old I am.
And the other thing about Salvatore was he wrote the Icewind Dale trilogy. You know, that was like his first trilogy with Drizzt in it. And then he went back and wrote the Dark Elf trilogy, which really brought up the detail of Guinevere. You didn't get that level of detail in Icewind Dale. So if you read them in chronological order, you had this really developed character that came early, and then a much less developed character in those later books that were written before. And then you really notice the detail in the characters again in the later series of the books. And there's like 40 or something books.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of Drizzt books.
In terms of medieval historicals, has anyone here read Mark Godwin?
Can't say I have.
Oh my. He has probably the finest Arthur, turning him into a real person that's out there. The first book is called Fire Lord. The second is Beloved Exile, which is Guinevere after Arthur's death. And wow, you just would not believe what he does with Guinevere. And then the third in the trilogy actually goes back 100 years and does Patrick before he goes to Ireland.
Oh wow. Yeah, that would be cool to watch or to listen to or to read. Is it audiobook or is it?
I don't know. I don't do audiobook.
Oh, okay.
I read.
I have to.
Yeah, printed page, man.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't do too much in the way of audiobooks, but
Yeah, it's basically all I do.
Everything I have read by Mark Godwin has been worth reading no matter what the genre. He does not stick to a particular genre. The first historical he did was a thing called A Memory of Lions, which had no historical main character, but it was the period of the Saxons who had successfully beaten down the Welsh, now getting beaten down by the Normans. And it's just brilliant. And it's really hard to find that book. I managed to find a beat-up paperback copy. But, Memory of Lions, the Fire Lord trilogy, Fire Lord, Beloved Exile, and The Last Rainbow. And then I read several others by his. He actually has a science fiction farce duology. The first one's called Waiting for the Galactic Bus, and the other is called The Snake Oil Wars.
My wife was talking about a movie yesterday, Flight of Dragons, and then she went and looked up the book that it originated from, and the book is actually extremely different, but it originated from The Dragon and the George. And I didn't realize that that was where it came from. And she was looking up the book to see if she could buy it. And the hardback is like $60 on Amazon, and the paperback is like $30 on Amazon. It's like, go check my shelf. It's over there.
Number one, wait a while because they do change rapidly.
Yeah.
Number two, check out half.com. It'll actually bring you to an
Well,
eBay site, and you can find things a lot cheaper there usually than you can on Amazon.
If nothing else, walk into Half Price Books, because they will check all of their stores all across everywhere and see what the prices are. $6 or $7, and she can probably get a copy of the paperback.
We have a used bookstore here called McKay's, and they're really good, and they have a lot of books, but they do not know what those books are worth.
Yeah,
And
well, Half Price.
They will pay you to bring books in, but they don't know what the books are worth that you're bringing in. I brought in a stack of books that were probably worth $300, and they offered to take 2 of them and give me $25, and I'm going, no. I did not let them take those 2, and I sold one of those books by itself for $65.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, their goal is also to make money, so they're going to buy what moves, and they're going to pay rock bottom price and sell it for as much as they can.
Sure.
But
I support that because, it's getting hard to find places that carry actual physical books anymore. We have a independent used bookstore, but, they have a real hard time moving product anymore because everyone's just gone to digital distribution.
Yeah. Well, Half Price Books is kind of awesome. I mean, you walk in there, and not only will they have an eclectic collection of, used books at decent prices, but they'll also have a few new books, and just like occasionally the bestsellers type of thing. And then they'll also have old games, so PS3, PS2, PS. I found some Atari games at the last one we went to, and PSP games, and board games, collectibles. At one of the ones we went to, I saw they were also selling like used phones. Like they had an Android phone there. I think consoles, so they were actually selling a PS3 and a PS2. And
it's not a bad idea, really, though, diversifying a little bit, just
records.
Yeah.
This is Moss Bliss. Welcome to Bookcast.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, we're on it. So speaking of which, Weiss and Hickman.
Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman. Yeah.
Yeah, I found the Dragonlance Chronicles at our used bookstore, so I got all 3, and I loaned them out, and they never came back, so they're gone now, but...
Yeah, there's a ton of those books, and they're actually really good, and I think you can get most of them in audio if you're looking. But when it comes to Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, their Dragonlance stuff is good, but I actually prefer like the Dark Sword trilogy and the Deathgate cycle.
Oh, right, yeah.
You cannot...
That goes back to high school.
Yeah, you cannot get quality audio copies of those, though. The audio quality on those is just going to be terrible.
Really?
I have to slow down the speed. Instead of doing my normal 3.5, I got to slow it down to like 2. But yeah, it's still worth a listen.
Yeah, I really like the Dragonlance universe, if you will. That whole...
I liked it when I was younger. I don't know if I quite grew out of it, but I don't know. Maybe I just read it too much when I was a kid.
Yeah. But the heroes were good.
Tanis Half-Elven,
Tanis, yeah.
He's right up there with Dristord.
Cause the Minotaur, Verminard.
Tasselhoff Burfoot.
Tasselhoff, absolutely classic.
Flint Fireforge. Love Flint Fireforge. I cried when he died. Big old tears when he died.
Yeah, that was terrible. I know we're nerding here. Nerding big time. For those that aren't into D&D.
Yeah, poor Norbert doesn't have a clue.
Norbert reads.
Man talk, huh?
Norbert
Hi,
reads,
Norbert, say something.
but we're talking about like really old books here, and he's over there typing. What book is that? What book is that? What book is that?
No, I'm trying to set up XFC on Fedora because I just gave up on GNOME on the desktop. But
the hell
I
it's been?
yeah, but I almost got into D&D last year.
No.
Mm.
We're through time.
I actually
Uh,
got invited to a Shadowrun Discord to try and do Shadowrun, but the problem is they meet on Saturdays from noon to like 7 or something, and
Right when we're doing this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say almost, I did take part in a sort of demo session on Discord on Tabletop Simulator, but what didn't really click with me is the heavy use of statistics and numbers. I mean, I have no problem with that, but it felt like too much is down to chance. And then one of my someone at my university said that I don't remember but he told me about a different game engine that was supposed to be less like this. And then a couple of us from the university decided maybe we should try to start a campaign sometime, but we never got around to do that. But it was a few months ago when we decided, but we could still try to do it this year.
Do it. It's
Yeah, I don't remember what was the name of the. Is it a game engine? Is what they call it, but I don't remember. But I think it was something that's more broad than D&D, but I don't know.
Well, guys, I'm going to take off here, but I will attack the show notes over the next week and see you next Saturday.
Sounds good, Moss.
It doesn't look like we're really doing anything in particular except boring stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's pick out your replacement distros.
Yeah, I mean, or
Well, I think I just did. I'm going to be reporting on that in next distro offers.
Wait, I suggested it, but I didn't see any feedback. I didn't know that it was actually what. You
Yeah,
decided
well,
to.
no, Tony had said that sounded like a good idea, and I said okay, and that was it's decided that's the topic.
Hmm?
No, okay.
Then I think. I somehow missed that.
I'd like to show
Okay.
off some of this Nitrix too at some point.
Put it in your
I'd like to play
bi-weekly.
around. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do here.
Since the new Maui session is not very usable, are you using your Nitrix with Plasma?
Well, hold up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Before you put that in your bi-weekly, is it enough to do a show on?
a whole show no,
Okay.
because there's really, I mean, other than that, it's just a highly configured Plasma desktop on top of Debian. The cask, I mean, I want to show a little bit of that, but the cask interface desktop, it's not even enough to say it's a desktop yet. But
It doesn't even have a session manager.
no, it's most of the controls are not responding right now. But I mean, it's something different to see though. So I've played with it enough to come up with a few things to show.
yeah, it sounded
I-
very alpha.
I've been hearing a lot about Gobo Linux, and I keep looking at it, and it's not ready yet. And
They talked about Gobo on Late Night Linux.
the
a few
whole
weeks ago.
file system changeover is
Yeah.
exciting, but if they don't have a package manager and they don't have a desktop, then what am I doing? Awesome WM is not my idea of a good time.
Awesome. I mean, the entire point behind a standalone window manager is to have a little bit more, something a little bit more lightweight, something that runs a little bit more efficient, and Awesome.
That's what I got Moksha for. What do I need Awesome?
Right. Well, Awesome uses about as much resources as XFCE or Mate does. So.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Well,
that's
then
why,
that's more than
that's
Moksha does.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get Bodhi if you disconnect some of the plugins that you may not need. You can get it down to 100 megs.
Yeah, it's very light. I've definitely noticed that about Bodhi.
I usually run it about 340, but that's still a lot lighter than XFCE.
I just can't use get used to going to a website for packages. It just seems.
Well, you don't have to. It's got Synaptic, and you can also use the Mint package manager.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
it's
that.
in the repo. You just download the Mint package manager, and there you go.
Oh,
It also uses the Mint update manager as an option.
oh,
I'm
there
kind
you
of
go.
looking forward to using Mint again on my desktop because that was part of my origin story a long
Are
time
you on?
ago.
Are you on Cinnamon or Mop or
I think I'll go
XFC?
cinnamon just
Yeah.
because I mean that's just something different. You know, I can get mate on just about anything, and cinnamon. I'll tell you what, for people who have made the comment that well, they made the question that mint, why is mint even relevant anymore? I think they should take a look because for all of the divergence Canonical have seemed to have done from the desktop, Linux Mint still seems to provide a first class end user desktop experience. I mean, their
That's,
focus is 100% on the desktop
that's
and
what it's
getting
all
all that
about.
stuff to work great, and they experience, as far as I can tell, is just absolutely fantastic. So I
Well,
kind of
as you know, I run Linux Mint Mate. I
right.
find Mate to be more stable than Cinnamon, and it has most of the features. Doesn't have the spices, but it's got almost all the features. It seems to work better for me. Hi, Nishant. I was just getting ready to leave.
He's halfway here.
He's
Yeah,
halfway
yeah.
here. Well, I'm halfway gone. So, bye, folks.
Bye.
All right, Moss.
Nice
We'll
seeing
see
you,
later.
Moss.
Yep.
See you,
I'll be
Moss.
back.
Take care.
Am I late to the party?
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
Yes, you are. I'm leaving.
oh, he's beaming in. Oh, he's
There
on
it
his
is.
phone.
Yep.
He's on his phone, isn't he?
Via mobile.
Yeah, he's on his phone. Well, I'm out of my chair. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see you.
I'm traveling right now, so it's kind of dark in the coach which I am traveling in.
It's
You're
very
scaring
dark.
me, Nishant.
Yeah, it looks like a horror film.
Right?
Looks like
Found
the Blair
footage.
Witch.
Yeah, Blair Witch.
I'm on board a train right now heading to Calcutta.
It looks like the.
You're
terror
heading to
train.
where? Calcutta?
Yes, from Delhi to Calcutta in a train.
Oh, my life is so boring.
Same here.
First of all, Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, Nishant.
Happy New Year, Nishant.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Nothing's changed, by the way. It's all still the same as 2021 at this point.
Is it around
my-
6 a.m. in India?
2:35
Oh.
a.m. right now, and train is running. My train is running currently 2 hours late due to the fog and all the winter. It's like due to all those mist and all that, whatever you call it.
This is terrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is kind of scary over there.
Do you have cold winters in India?
Sorry, come again.
Do you have very cold winters in India?
Very cold. We have fog. We have complete mist. It covers the whole field and like zero visibility almost. That's how cold it is.
Mm.
So, okay, everybody lives in a cooler place than me.
Not me.
It seems like all the rest of them live in those spy novel cities.
You're right.
You know, like Budapest and Calcutta and all
Yeah.
them places.
Actually,
Hotel
Bill,
Budapest.
I belong to Delhi, not
Yeah.
to Calcutta. Calcutta is just one of the places where my relatives are, and I'm going for a marriage function for 1 month. It's a long 1 month.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah, so you're going to be on the next mintCast, Nishant?
Yeah, next week I'm gonna be there at my relative's place. I will be streaming from my relative's place.
Okay.
how's Budapest a spy novel city? Because the only thing that rings a bell is that in the Marvel movies, Black Widow kept mentioning Budapest.
Born Identity.
Oh, so
I'm
it's Bond.
sure it's in one of the Bond
No,
movies.
not Bond. Bond.
No?
Bond.
The
No, I
Grand
haven't seen
Budapest, the Grand Budapest Motel or hotel.
Hotel. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know about that. Oh, is it a murder mystery story?
It's been a
I
long
don't know about
time since I've
murder.
seen it. Yeah. Something like
Mission
that, though.
Impossible.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really big on spy and action movies, but
I don't know. It's just one of those places that seems to pop up for some reason.
it's also one of those places that they like to shoot movies, even if they're not set in Budapest. For example, is
Yeah.
I think I think because it's far enough to the east, Budapest is often the standing for Moscow and various sister cities in movies for shooting.
Oh, there is just still to this day so much intrigue around all of the Eastern European countries, especially in America, where people were raised to hate the Russians and fear them. And I can still remember going to school and we'd have fire drills and then we would have nuclear fallout drills.
Yeah,
And it
hide
was-
under your desk because that'll
Yeah,
save you from
and-
nuclear.
Well,
And
I
it
am
just
going. Speaking
Pounded
of going
into our
under my
head.
desk, I have to plug in my displays, so I'm going under my desk.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
Those crazy Americans are after you again.
Yeah. We are
No,
crazy.
we used to have the underdesk tornado drills.
Oh yeah, that was.
What was the
good.
one where they lined us up in the hallway and put our head into the wall?
The fire
Maybe
drill?
that one they took us outside with no coat on for the fire drill.
Earthquake drills? No, might have been. It might have also been tornado drills if you were in Indiana at the time, but if you didn't have like proper desks, because there were also different fields of thought on where the safest place was during a
Yeah.
tornado. Some of it was under desks. Some of it was in the hallway away from everything. So that way,
Within the
if
door frame,
furniture
I think.
started getting knocked, that's earthquakes.
Earthquake.
Oh, sorry. I
So-
wasn't paying full attention.
If things got knocked around during a tornado, you know, like the winds really picked up or something like that, you'd be in the hallway and away from the furniture. So
Okay.
different fields of thought on
Yeah,
what
I
was
just,
safe
I
and
remember
what
there
wasn't.
was like 3 different things going on, and one of them was a nuclear fallout, and it was all to do with Russia. Those evil Russians.
Or Cuba.
But that was still Russians.
Right. It was Russia sitting in Cuba with nuclear missiles.
Yeah, via Cuba.
Even though they hadn't been there since the 60s.
Yeah, I gotta love the Cold War era.
Oh my.
Ronnie Reagan.
No, I don't like.
Oh, there he is again.
Yeah, and Sean, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just so tired right now.
We lost your video feed.
Yeah, I switched it off because I'm on data and I don't want to exhaust my 1.5 gigabyte.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about our alternate operating systems. Or instead of just our primary, we're picking up to 5 alternate
Oh,
Linux
wow.
operating systems.
Gonna be so
Comes another 4-hour show.
Yeah.
in the Debian
I-
universe.
I had kind of 2 different ideas in my mind. So one of them is make a list in order of preference. So if your current distro, if you couldn't use that, what would you use? And do the same for the rest along down the line. But what I'm not sure is, for example, if you have something like if you have Ubuntu, for example, at the top of your list, and then you wouldn't be able to put Linux Mint into second place, because the idea is if your Ubuntu went away, then what would you switch to? And if Ubuntu went
LMDE?
away-
God.
Yes, LMD is. I mean, that's a good way to play the system. But should we follow this rule, or should we just ignore it and put everything in whatever order? So
You can put them in
I think we should
Because-
keep it simple. Don't
because
yeah.
I don't want somebody saying, okay, Linux Mint goes away, then I'm gonna pick Ubuntu Cinnamon.
Yeah.
You make it
Wait,
too specific, and you're only going to have about 5 distros. To choose
Yeah,
from.
exactly. And
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
going to be the same distros because, there's not that many root distros.
So
Yeah,
you
I
can
think
paddle upstream under
Give me a
these
second, guys.
rules, right? I
I
Yeah.
mean,
think
so if say Linux Mint went away, you could go Ubuntu. If Ubuntu went away, you could go Debian,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
As long as you put them in that order.
yeah, but I mean
Right.
not strictly. So maybe we don't need this rule. So maybe for some if some mysterious force forbid you from using your distro,
If Arch
but I
goes
mean,
away, Linux is done for.
is it?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I'd
no,
argue maybe Fedora. Red
Fedora.
Hat, yeah, that would hurt if that went away because
That
they're
would
the
hurt a
ones
lot.
really
I
push
have a
the
question
technology.
regarding Fedora. You can't switch to Red Hat Enterprise, right? If Fedora goes away.
I think
You
both
can.
Fedora. I think both Fedora and Debian going away would hurt a lot more than Arch going away.
Well, he was asking if you could switch to Red Hat if Fedora went away. You can. There are limitations, and that would come up in the discussion, though, because you're only allowed so many free Red Hat licenses. And
Yeah, but if Fedora went away, there would be no Red Hat because Fedora is the upstream for Red Hat. So they would have to either rebase Red Hat or
I thought Red
or
Hat
then-
was the upstream for Fedora.
no. That's the thing. Fedora is always almost cutting edge. It's on the latest kernel. It's on the latest GNOME and the latest pipeware and everything. And then Red Hat is downstream. So I think Fedora releases every 6 months.
Yeah,
And,
it goes Fedora, CentOS Stream, and then Red Hat or
Yeah.
RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Yeah, and CentOS Stream and RHEL, I think they release around every 2 years. So the next, I think the CentOS 9, CentOS Stream 9 just released, and it was based on Fedora 34, which came out half a year ago. So I think the idea is that every fourth Fedora release gets done.
So you'd have to do, if you were to do it in order, you'd have to do it Red Hat and then CentOS and then Fedora.
Yes, but I think, personal use, there would be not much point in going with
Red Hat.
Red Hat or CentOS. I mean, maybe it would be better to go with CentOS because if it's upstream from Red Hat, it would have more up-to-date packages.
Well, I think you'd actually go the other way around. You'd go Fedora, CentOS Stream, and then Red Hat, because Red Hat's kind of the furthest downstream because it needs the most
Right,
stability.
but
Yes, but
if an upstream goes away, you can't have the downstreams.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Mm.
Yeah, true.
So,
Fedora is unique in this matter because it doesn't have a like Ubuntu or something else. It has
Right.
an enterprise.
no.
It's a root.
Oh, I mean, Ubuntu is kind of enterprise at this point.
So we're all gonna end up on Solus. We just have to pick like
We're all going to end
So-
up on BSD.
BSD. Oh no! But my graphics driver.
Solus is really nice, but it doesn't have a lot of packages. Is my main problem with it. I tried to use it once, but
We're going to end up
Hey.
on SunOS.
no.
Sus
Simple OS.
tumbleweed.
I got Red Hat on here. That'll work for everybody, won't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. We were just talking about that. I've been looking.
There's
at Sus
almost
tumbleweed.
nothing available on there unless you enable that. What do they call that? Repository with all the extra
RPM
pack
Fusion.
RPM Fusion?
on
No,
Red Hat.
Oh,
Apple.
Red Hat.
Apple?
Apple, yeah, Apple.
Yeah.
Apple.
Apple. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's.
We'll make sure to
definitely
talk about that on the show.
Mhm.
I've got all that stuff in a virtual
So-
machine.
Yeah, I'm also thinking maybe we shouldn't implement this rule of if you put Ubuntu in the first place, you can't have Mint in the second place. I think we should just list whatever our preference would be, because I tried to do my list and I only ended up with the independent distros. In my list, I don't have anything from upstream of them, so like Debian and Fedora and Tumbleweed and
Well, I'm going to have some hard choices, but it's
Mhm.
probably going to be what? Well, Linux Mint for my primary, and then Fedora, and then Garuda, and then maybe Pin Guy.
oh,
That's
what?
still
Is that
around.
something?
Yeah,
does that
Pin
mean
Guy
that-
is still around.
That's
Oh,
like
wow.
that's like GNOME with every single
Yeah,
package.
yeah, that's a heavy
Um,
weight, heavy weight.
Super heavyweight.
Yeah,
What is it based on? Something or is it
it's
Ubuntu,
Ubuntu.
I
Yeah,
think.
Ubuntu?
yeah.
So, is Ultimate Edition still around?
That
Do
was
you
Yep.
remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
That used to be a super heavy everything.
They
in the
had
kitchen sink.
Conqueror as the file manager at one time.
Oh, wow.
hearing both Ubuntu and Ubuntu, we could have an entire show about pronouncing various false terms.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
the
not good
beauty
enough.
of Linux. Oh wait,
Phonetics of Linux. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
Sousa published, I think a few years ago, a musical, pretty nice video about teaching people how to pronounce Sousa.
Right. You hear it all.
I wish they
Sue,
would do
Sousa,
something about that.
Susie.
Because sometimes I hear people that not even pronounce it wrong, but they switch between pronunciations because themselves are also not sure. So
Susie.
in one sentence they would say Susie, and the next sentence they would say Suze or Sus. It's weird because it's German, so I'm not even sure if Sousa is right. I think it's more the second S is more soft, so Sousa. I have no idea.
There was a time when you didn't have podcasts and people out on the internet whose voices you could hear
Oh.
describing these things, but yet Linux was out there and people were left to their own devices to figure out how to say these things.
Oh,
These-
you mean Linux?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
probably MX would have to be on my list too.
That's nice.
Make
MX
sure.
is nice because they maintain a lot of packages on top of Debian stable. So if you want to go with you want to use Firefox on Debian stable, I think it's still version 89 or something. But if you go to MX, then they have a more up-to-date 90 something version.
Yeah, they keep it up
maintained.
to date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't
That's one
used
of the few
MX in a
places
while
you could
though.
go to get a 32-bit ISO.
Exactly.
too.
That's one of the reasons that I know MX
Yeah.
is because of
Also-
the 32-bit version.
They have the AHS version, the Advanced Hardware Support, which comes with. So Debian stable has 5.10 kernel right now, but I think it's 5.15 or 5.13, 14, something like that with MX AHS.
Yeah, you can if you go. Yeah, the AHS for sure.
But
All-
why not go Arch if you need latest kernel and all that stuff?
We were
Because
talking about some
Arch-
Arch Linux distros.
Yeah, you can get the Linux, you can get the latest kernel, but there's a lot of things you might have to get working all by yourself, and who needs that kind of pressure?
Yeah, you
Well,
go and Java.
if someone really wants to have a nice experience with GNOME, they should just go to Fedora instead of Arch
Oh.
because Fedora is almost as up to date. I mean, Fedora
Yeah,
had
it is.
Fedora had GNOME 41 when it came out, and Arch only received it maybe 2 or 3 months later, which is insane.
But it makes
And-
sense because
I-
I mean, a lot of the devs from GNOME work at Red Hat, so
And I think my last pick would be Endeavor.
yeah.
Why
Endeavor.
have Garuda before Endeavor?
Why not? They're actually about on par for me. Garuda and
No, well, what Endeavor does
Endeavor.
is so if you go to any distro, let's say Arch, and you install the GNOME group, for example, or Plasma or something, then you get everything that's in the GNOME group. You get stuff like GNOME Maps and GNOME Dictionary and GNOME Cheese and GNOME Photos and stuff. So it's everything GNOME. But if you go into the Endeavor installer and you pick the GNOME group, it will only install the GNOME shell and various minimal packages. So it installs the GNOME shell and maybe like the terminal and the Nautilus, the file manager, and some other stuff. So
So,
it's a more sensible package selection that is way smaller than the default GNOME. Because whenever I install the default entire GNOME group, I end up uninstalling a lot of things because I don't need GNOME Maps, I don't need their stock video player or their stock photo viewer.
yeah, my laptop I take on the road with me has got Arch with GNOME, and I think I talked about this at one point briefly. I'm running that with no extensions whatsoever.
Oh my, going straight vanilla?
Well, I wanted to know, okay, these people are screaming at the top of their lungs that extensions are a niche. Okay, so what is it like running GNOME without any extensions? And
Horrid.
It
I really,
It's an acquired taste.
It is, and I'm really, really look. I am trying. I've been doing it for about 2 months now. I've been trying to get on with it, but there's just certain things, and these people must not be using these applications. Like I run Nextcloud here at home, and to connect back to those requires a Nextcloud client, which has a app indicators
Right.
thing
What
going on in the tray.
indicators
Well-
alone is a killer. I mean,
For-
Endeavor
Why is that?
Endeavor is a lot more lightweight compared to Garuda, but Garuda has a lot more speed tweaks built in, CPU and RAM tweaks
Well,
built in.
You could. I mean,
has-
the main thing I think is the Zen kernel. But if you install Archer Endeavor, you can just select the Zen kernel instead of the stock kernel. And the nice thing about Arch and Archbase is that they have the Zen kernel in the repos.
Mm.
So if I wanted to have the Zen kernel on Void or Fedora, I think I would have to compile it.
Yes. I think Zen kernel is made only for Arch.
Yeah,
Nothing else.
Is it?
Endeavor and Garuda are both Arch.
Yeah.
So
I think you can actually get that on MX as well. They provide the Zen kernel. I'm pretty sure in the MX.
and that's a Debian.
Yeah, I switched to the Zen kernel on Arch a few weeks ago. I didn't really notice any speed improvements, but I mean, I haven't been doing any gaming or something resource heavy, but
I used Garuda with the Zen kernel. It gives me the best performance on AMD, I think, with battery life as well.
I wish the Arch wiki gave a little bit better explanation as to the difference between, because there is like three major choices when you're installing your kernel, and as a result your system, or by extension your system, you've got the Zen, the LTS, and the regular kernel, and they don't do a real good job of explaining the difference. I mean, obviously a difference between the LTS and the
What I
And-
think Zen is, it's for performance and more.
what Zen is focusing on low latency.
yeah.
Is the shortest description I could give.
Yeah.
So does that improve battery life? Because on Garuda with Zen, my laptop
so
performs better on
so-
battery.
Yeah,
Well, I've
Zen
heard
is-
that Zen gives you worse battery life, but see,
Yeah,
that's-
exactly, because it's like if you are switching from balance to performance in the battery
Yeah.
settings.
And CPU freak. Yeah.
I also heard that there's a Zen mode kernel, but it's only for Fedora. Can you confirm that, Mission?
I haven't tried that yet, but I'll confirm with the guys at
But you did say that you were using it with Pop OS, the Zen kernel. No, not the Zen kernel, the Zen mod. With an
yeah,
X. Zen mod, yeah.
Zen mode is good. It's good, I would say. If you want to try,
Is
you
it
can.
available for any distro or is it just Fedora?
No, Fedora has it is available for Ubuntu, it is available for Arch and Gentoo as well. But for Fedora, it's on the unofficial COPR repository.
You know, along those lines, has anyone taken advantage of the Steam sale this winter?
Nope.
Nothing.
I did on Epic. I got the Tomb Raider trilogy for free. It's for free.
All right.
I tell you what I
Awesome.
do when I hear of a game really cheap on Destination Linux. I've probably bought 20 or 30 games that they.
I actually like the Tomb Raider series. It's like very unique kind of game where you have to explore the world and then discover it yourself, all the mysteries and all that.
I'm still working on Borderlands 2, but I did pick up Batman Arkham Knight because I just wanted to complete the trilogy. So I got that for like Game of the Year for like $8. I got a few DLCs for the truck simulators and yeah, a couple other things. Nothing really else notable, but I always like picking up stuff that's older.
Do you play Truck Simulator?
Yes.
I was surprised because
Does it,
you're a truck
doesn't
driver.
that seem a lot like work?
It's a lot more pleasurable than work. At least the load's not late as soon as you get it.
Okay, for my
I just don't get the time.
top
Yeah,
five
it-
list of people would have to start with Fedora, then Garuda Linux, then Arch. Oh, it can't be that way, right? If that tool is there. Garuda and Arch.
Yeah, you could do Garuda then Arch, yes.
Okay.
That theme, man, it gets me on Garuda. Boy, that is a
Both were
very flashy theme.
You know what that reminds me of? When I was in Germany, the raves in the early 90s in the old courtyards at the abandoned castles. Germany used to be like this huge,
You mean I was in Germany before you were?
probably not. Oh, what, really?
Yeah,
Like 91, 92?
like 86.
Oh.
Wow. Well, you look younger than me.
Well,
You must be coloring your hair.
no. I started kindergarten in Germany.
Oh, you're a military brat. Okay.
I was also in the military, but I was
Okay.
also a military brat. Yes.
Well, I was there right after the wall went down, and
I
there was a
was
lot of
there
confusion.
when the wall was coming down.
Oh, that is excellent.
What year was that? Was that 89?
89.
Yeah.
You have lived two of the world's most historic moments: the fall of the Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall.
That is excellent. Yeah, I just remember some of the raves that used to go on in the abandoned courtyards of the castles.
Well, I
And some
remember.
of the colors remind me of Garuda.
Oh,
Oh,
man,
I was
Garuda is
extremely
tough.
young, so I wasn't obviously allowed to drink. But I do remember the beer walks that my dad would go on, and I'd go on the walks with him, and we'd go and see all the old architecture, and he'd be drinking
Yes.
a beer, and I'd just be enjoying the walk and the architecture.
Bill,
Yeah.
Garuda is an Indian bistro. It is maintained by Indian developers. Garuda is a god in Indian mythology.
Oh,
Indian myth.
yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I did know that at one time.
And when you do Neo Fetch, it shows the Indian flag colors on Garuda.
Does that
When
mean
the-
that
when you
Garuda's a god tier distro?
It's a good
it's
distro.
It's just a distro, but it's the first Indian distro which I came across after looking for.
I think the first thing I thought of when Garuda came out was Gareth Emery. I listened to a lot of. My son actually makes a lot of electronic music, and I'm a big Gareth Emery fan. And he's got a project called Garuda, or Sounds of Garuda, and that's what made me think of Garuda when that came out.
So
And,
the same guy that does Ghost, is it?
First time I-
GOST? I don't remember if that's the same guy.
Dead
or not.
Silence.
Yeah, I tend to do that. I tend to kill conversations, so just pay me no, never mind.
I don't. You don't know if the silence is because everybody doesn't have anything to add, or if everybody is like intently waiting on somebody to say something.
So, Bill, what are you drinking?
Red's Wicked Apple. It's cider. 8% alcohol by volume.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's-
harsh, 8%. Yeah.
It's
Some
a little
ciders
harsh.
have surprisingly high alcohol
Yeah.
content.
You can hide a lot of the alcohol flavor behind an apple.
I'm taking it straight up with again the local IPA here, Dust Bowl. Hops
Okay,
of Wrath.
so a quick shameless plug. This is a local. This is not an IPA, but it's a Kolsch with the umlaut above the O. Kolsch style ale. This is 5.3.
So is it pronounced Kosh?
Yeah, Kolsch.
Kolsch.
Kolsch?
Yeah, I should have
Kolsch?
known that.
Wait.
Yeah,
But this is from a local brewery called Chapman's here in Fort Wayne.
So according to my cousin, who's has a master's in German and he's been over there many times, he's fluent. He says if you go into a town where Kolsch is the main brew, if you try to order anything else, he says the rest of the bar gets quite cross. Like you can't go in there and order anything else because where Kolsch is a thing, that's what you order.
Yeah. I was not far from where they made Carlsberg Urpils and Bitburger. I was not a big fan of Carlsberg, but Bitburger I did like, and it was just like that. If you were near one of those breweries, then it was extremely expatriatic to not drink that particular beer.
Right.
Oh, okay, guys, I'll be hopping off.
All right,
Okay.
Nishant.
See you next weekend,
Okay.
Nishant.
I'll try my best, because I don't have my gear right now. So will it be fine with a normal microphone, Joe?
Sure.
It's a
I thought
Well,
that's what you
depends.
always
Ask the
used.
guy doing the audio editing.
Yeah.
Well,
Norbert.
Audacity manages to uh, filter out pretty heavy noise. I've
oh okay.
found
I
so.
think I can use my office's headset then for the podcast. No problem.
So I don't think background noise would be a problem. What might be a problem is the audio clarity.
Don't worry, if you sound like shit, I'll let you know.
We can say shit.
We can say it on Saturday. We can't say it when we do the regular show.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
Well, you did
Maybe
say
I
crap
can use
on
my
the other
office's
on
headset.
the
They
previous
provided.
recording.
I try
I
not to.
said,
It sometimes
I-
just oozes out of my pores. I
Because
can't help
I
it.
I
Yeah.
ended up having to leave it in there because it was just so well timed. It was when you realized that your internet was off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I should have cut it out.
you have to
but
mark us implicit now.
it was just so perfect. Because
Well,
the way
yeah, I
did
wasn't. I,
Not
I, I wasn't
explicit.
broadcasting anymore. I realize now that Audacity was still recording, but I
Yeah.
wasn't going out to the YouTubes right then. So
Because
Oh, trust me, we all said a collective sh in that in that moment. We went, oh
Because-
god, now what do we do? Because this is a first.
yeah, the way I did the editing on that is we had maybe a minute when you were just talking by yourself and we were talking to each other. And then I left both of those in, but I shifted them out, so it was just you talking, and then you realize that nobody's listening, and then that transitioned to us talking, maybe for half a minute, and then you came back.
Yeah, it worked out all right.
yeah,
Did you listen to it, Josh?
I did. I always listen to mintCast. Still.
Yeah. Oh, still, I should hurry up with the very late
You
episode.
keep
I'd
yeah,
appreciate
you
it. I
keep-
got friends waiting on that one.
Oh, okay.
Thought you were on a podcast, Bell.
Okay.
You make all that up?
Yeah, I have to try to eventually shift them back to Wednesday
Yeah.
because they've been going out on Friday since I started editing. But this is the second time I think where I'm late, and it
Yeah.
will be out on Sunday. But I shouldn't. I should definitely try to get it out by tomorrow because soon it will be next Wednesday. So I don't. The cycles would overlap. That I don't want to go there.
That's
Yeah,
got to
you
be a
get-
lot
Is
of work.
Leo still publishing?
Yeah, at one point soon, the next coming weeks, I think I should ask him to show me how I can do the publishing because I think it's just uploading to archive and then because it's a podcast, I think so. I think linking to the website and the RSS feed, I believe. I'm not sure how
I don't know how
podcast
he does
publishing works in general.
Yeah, I know that and the show notes both go over. But yeah. Well, so it sounds like we got our topic anyway. So, it's
Well,
not
I
gonna
walked
be
away
fun.
for a minute there. Are we allowed to go if I was to say, right now I'm using Arch, but I don't know, I would go to
It sounds like
Manjaro.
you can't go downstream. You can only go upstream.
so you
Well,
pick Manjaro
that-
first, and then
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure if we should do that, implement that rule or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure because you if you get that specific, you only end up with Debian,
Arch,
Fedora, Arch.
well, it depends.
SUSE?
I mean,
OpenSUSE.
I'm going with Endeavor and Garuda as two of mine, and
Yes,
then
but
I'm
because
not doing
those
vanilla
are on the
Arch.
On the same level, so that
Right.
doesn't violate the rule.
Right, but I'm
like
not
Bill
picking
says, if
vanilla
we-
Arch.
Yes, but
Okay.
like Bill said, that we won't have. So if someone is using like an Ubuntu derivative like Mint, I think they could. And if they don't go upstream, so if they put Mint in in first place, maybe they put Zora in second place and Popos in the third place, they wouldn't be violating. But if someone is using Arch or any other upstream distro, so the independent distro, then they
Yeah,
Cannot
you lose
really-
the whole branch. Yeah.
yeah use a hop branch, and so I'm still on void, and I think if void went away, so my second choice would be arch,
Well, I
because
think that just forces you into an independent distro or
yeah,
something of the
that's what I'm
sort.
saying, because I've been using Endeavor OS, but went back to vanilla arch because I it, it it's not really any more or less complicated. It's just I didn't really feel like I had much benefit from switching from Arch to Endeavor, and I think being as close to upstream as possible it might be a good thing. Because I had the impression that with Arch, of course, you have to read the news to see whether you have to do any manual intervention with updating, and
Ah,
I was under the
Arch is
impression.
completely unusable uh, uh, without the Arch wiki because it assumes nothing about the user. If you install a package, you have to also physically enable, manually enable all of the corresponding
Services, yeah.
System D services. Yeah.
But what's interesting is I started at Manjaro, and after 5 months I went to Arch, and so having to enable services manually was the default for me. And when I installed Fedora or Debian for something, I was surprised that I didn't have to do that manually. For
Well,
example,
does
I would
Manjaro make you do that too?
I have
No.
no idea because I haven't installed, because I always install Manjaro with GNOME pre-installed, but I haven't been using the stuff like. Actually, I don't. I think it enables bit by default because I know the VPN I use requires me to enable it on Arch, but I didn't do that on Manjaro.
Yeah, no,
So maybe it is.
Manjaro's much more automated
Yes,
than
but
vanilla
on top of
Arch.
that,
That means there's a Pac-Man hook you can get out there
yeah.
to enable all that stuff, and frankly, I'm sick of it. So
Mm.
I'd be interested in getting hold of that.
Yes, but again, I think the average Arch user doesn't install uh, package that require enabling services that often. So
It's a little irritating though because I
mm.
mean the assumption is
Okay,
that
let me ask a question. Are we going to be on for a while?
uh, I will
uh,
be another 20 minutes or so.
Okay, because I'm hungry. I can stay on. That's
Well,
fine. I'm just going to go get some food.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
feel free. Yeah,
Yes, but
we'll
on top
hang
of
out.
then having to do a lot of manual intervention, but it's also they have Arch News, so the blog, which you also have to follow because sometimes they would warn you that you have to do some manual intervention before updating to not break something. And I was under the impression that with Endeavor you didn't have to do that. But I think Leo told me that no, apparently you still have to do all those stuff. I did because okay, with Manjaro because they maintain their own packages. I think it's not an issue, but I don't really like how Manjaro keeps packages out of sync with the AUR. So I went with
2 weeks.
Endeavor
Yeah.
because I was under the assumption that with Endeavor you also don't have to keep track with the Arch blog, but apparently you do. So I just went back to Arch.
I have a
So
question on that. You've run Tumbleweed before, right? Or
me,
yeah,
very brief.
I
I
have.
briefly tried it
you have.
during the past 2 weeks. I
Do they
haven't
hold
used
back,
it. Uh, Hold
or
back how
is that
tumbleweed
a
is tumbleweed
yeah?
has is the upstream, so they don't have any other distro upstream of them, so they don't have anywhere to hold back from.
I mean, like Manjaro, does it hold back packages, or are they updated as quickly as Arches?
No, Manjaro holds back packages and around 1 or 2 weeks
Yeah,
because they want to see whether the packages cause any problems for Arch users. But the thing about that, they don't really do any patching themselves.
Yeah,
So
that right there is the key, and it's the same with Arch. That somebody in Arch, if somebody in Arch is going to run that package and see if it works before they allow that to go into the community repo, and it's the same with Tumbleweed. Um, Somebody is going to see they'll do some real quick checking. Yes, it runs, and then they add it to the repository. It's not
so
near as
yeah, yeah. So Tumbleweed does have the experimental repo upstream of the Tumbleweed repo. So they do testing of the packages. But I think
but I mean,
it's
if
just
you were just to use the Tumbleweed repos, no experimental, just as it comes
mhm.
out of the box, is it as quick to update packages as vanilla Arch is?
I would say because like I
yeah.
said, uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
roughly.
Tumbleweed
Okay.
had GNOME 41 months before Arch did. So, I mean, that was an outlier because Arch was somehow unusually late with GNOME 41.
I keep hearing how Tumbleweed is one of the more stable rolling distros. So I was just curious if they did kind of a Manjaro thing where
I
they held
just
it back a little.
I'm not
Tum-
sure, but I sense that Tumbleweed has people that are a little more engaged because they might be employed in one way or another. I'm
Right,
not
because
100%
corporation
sure.
rather than
Yeah,
community.
and they might be testing these packages. The concept is supposed to be the same. You've got people who are either in the community or part of the trusted system that they've got going on, and they test these packages. Does it work? Yes, let's send it out. And the difference might be, I don't know, days or weeks, just depending on the individual person who, in Arch's case, the community repo where the vast majority of the packages are in the trusted repositories.
Okay.
but Arch
You
also has an unstable repo, right? That package
They
arrived
do.
there
I've
first.
never used it, but yeah,
So,
well, the
but
AUR and then you've got an untested. Yeah,
yes, but do there's also so Arch packages that are in the main Arch repos that those are also get tested before they are added.
I think they get tested. I'm not sure how much. I think they get tested to see if they actually run, and
Mm.
I couldn't say because I'm not a tested user.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, I think the way I understand it, the Tumbleweed has the the rolling model and the up-to-date packages that as Arch does, but it also has more thorough testing, like for example Fedora does. But
Okay.
you
but
probably
a
have
big
more pressure on people in the OpenSUSE world
how?
to make sure. Well, because you've got people counting on that a little bit more, I think,
But
than Arch.
yeah, but I thought you were comparing it to Fedora because Fedora is also upstream of enterprise distro. So I would say Fedora and Open and Tumbleweed have the same fairly large amount of pressure, both of them.
I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would make sense.
as
So
well
I
as
so what we're saying though is that you've got a better expectation that things will work better in Tumbleweed and Fedora than you would in Arch.
Yeah, so you're getting down basically to corporate versus community backed.
Exactly. And Arch is 100% community, no matter how quickly
Right.
you update your packages.
I had a tough time on Manjaro. I had some breakages, so I've been a little leery of rolling, but Seuss has kind of been, I don't know, a little tempting lately. I've been playing around with it on Ventoy, but
The
I don't know that I
the
want to
only
risk
time
it.
I've ever ran into issues on Arch is because packages in the AUR they still rely on packages that are in the
Arch repo.
community, and yeah,
Yep.
the main repos. And so if you have a huge chain or a huge change in the tool chain, you might have to you might have to recompile your AUR packages.
Okay,
That's
so you're
about the
talking library issues.
yeah, things like that,
Okay.
Um,
But also, if an AR package gets updated and a new version is expecting a new version of the library, but Manjaro doesn't have that library, if you're a Manjaro,
yeah,
then
I've thought
that's
about that a lot. I wondered, since Manjaro holds back like that, if you've got a huge change and then this AUR package needs this new tool chain, and here Manjaro is not offering it yet. I'm not exactly sure how long it takes Manjaro to catch
one or
back
two
up.
weeks, 1 or 2 weeks they hold back.
Yeah,
So I just decided to not use Manjaro after I realized that.
Yeah,
there
and I
used to
mean
No,
be.
rough, man. 800 megabyte, 1.3 gigabyte updates because you're holding back 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you get a flood in. I mean, that's a big update.
These are things you have to take into consideration when you're building your system. Is your system one that absolutely needs to work the minute you turn it on and run your update, or do you have is your need for customization and your need to have control over your system a little bit bigger than your need to be able to get these things to work. I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
run.
why snapshotting is kind of important too.
Well,
You
that's
know.
another thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
BTRFS by default was kind of
Yeah.
nice, but I run Mint, and as my backup distro, I run Debian stable. So we're talking about like opposite ends of the spectrum here. I'm very rarely on the rolling side of things. I tend to play it far more conservative. But after playing around with Seuss Tumbleweed for a little while, I kind of came right impressed. And
Sousa's
but I
getting
haven't.
a Sousa's getting a lot of attention here lately with a lot of the stuff they've been doing. I think
But I would say generally RPM distros are getting more attention, so both
they are.
Fedora and OpenSUSE,
Yeah.
because for a couple of years, the way I understand it, because I've only got into Linux in 2020, so a bit
Oh,
more than a year ago, because of university. And the way I understand it is that RPM-based distros in the public, so for personal usage, weren't very popular in the past couple of years. But now, since Fedora started to be more bold with how they adapt a lot of new technologies, and I think that's maybe that's in part contributed to OpenSUSE also being more popular, because the idea of a rolling release distro is also getting more popular.
Well,
Uh,
and to add on to that, Norbert, I think it's not just what they're doing, it's what Ubuntu is not doing. And Ubuntu is not innovating on the desktop right now.
no, they're not.
They are flat out dead in the water in terms of that.
But they don't.
So,
That's fine though, because look at all the drama that's happening with System 76 and Pop OS. Um,
yeah,
People
that's
are
true.
taking notice of, well, Linux Mint, for example.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
um, and then all the stuff that's happening uh, in the enterprise space with Rocky and Alma and all
mm.
that.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
Do you think uh, Mint should rebase on Debian? So should they drop the Ubuntu base
not.
and go with
No.
LM?
I don't think they should right now.
Nope.
I think one thing that's really unique about Mint is that they have this secondary base that you can use if you want to, and it's
Yeah.
always been there. That used to be an oddity. That used to be kind of a curiosity. Why do they have this LMDE over here? And then lately people have been thinking, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. It's so that they can kind of hedge their bets against what might end up happening in the future. Right now, everything's okay, but who knows? In the future, there might not be uh,
Well,
reliable Ubuntu base
but Ubuntu
repos.
is not going away anytime soon, because
I agree. I'm not sure that their focus on the desktop is always going to be there, or at least not in the space that Linux Mint would want to.
That's
well,
the thing, the target
maybe
demographic,
Yeah,
and that's where
maybe
Ubuntu shines because when you go to Debian, you guys know it takes a lot more. You're going to be in the terminal on Debian. It's a lot rougher around the edges, and that's why Ubuntu came into existence. Really, it made Debian easy for the more standard user. So I think that because that's sort of Mint's target audience, that's where they need to stay is off of an Ubuntu
mhm.
base.
it
It gives
doesn't
you like
cost
the
them
driver.
anything to offer an LMDE version because
Right.
it's just one more thing people can download if they wish, and if Ubuntu completely just stops supporting desktop-based distributions, then
Or goes too
Uh,
far off the rails, like they
Yeah,
almost
more
did
than like
with Snap.
yes.
well, I think what we should compare Ubuntu to currently is maybe uh, Red Hat or CentOS Stream, because Ubuntu is more and more on the enterprise and server side of things. But when
Internet
when
of Things. That's what
yeah,
they're.
as
Yeah.
but Red Hat being an enterprise OS, does it mean it's mainly for servers, or is it also
Yep.
for workstations?
No, they tried that on Late Night Linux, and they actually ran Rail on the desktop, and they came away, with a lot of little paper cut issues because it's really not meant to have
Mm,
a GUI on top of it. It's meant
mm,
to be on a headless server, is what it's meant
mm.
for.
Well, I mean, it's meant to have, you got your basic, ooh, you
Very
install,
basic.
yeah, when you install Rel 8, you've got Firefox and you've got a few enterprise grade. Uh,
And also the full desktop. So GNOME is installed, right?
you have GNOME, yeah, which that's always kind of. Mm, that's
I
been a curiosity to me
mm,
because if you try to sell GNOME to a old-fashioned enterprise client,
Yeah, that's
I
an
imagine
odd
that would be a
choice.
hard sell, really, honestly. So
Yeah, the paradigm's so non-traditional,
it is
and you're
completely
selling
removed.
right, and you're selling to a very traditional
mm.
audience there or demographic.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because the first time I heard about Red Hat being an enterprise OS, the first thing that came to my mind, I imagined it to be like for office workstations. But then I also saw that the default, the official desktop on Red Hat is GNOME. Then I was thinking maybe is that a good idea because I'm not sure if GNOME is a good idea for an office environment.
Well, it's probably not, but that's where Ubuntu, they're very popular,
Mm-hmm.
according to Popey at least, in the workspace scenario. So
Mm-hmm.
there are obviously a lot of people that are going to be using GNOME, probably more that are than aren't, which strikes me as odd because
Well,
it's such a deviation from a traditional desktop.
maybe
But
in some situations the user is not the one who decides what they're using, but the employer. So the company just decides to use Ubuntu, and GNOME is the default on Ubuntu, so everyone will be using Ubuntu.
It
yeah,
And
seems
maybe they
like
don't. Maybe
so
the
many of Red Hat's developers are also GNOME developers.
no.
mm,
Yes, and same with
yeah.
Debian and Ubuntu and
Yeah.
Fedora. Yeah, because GNOME is a lot of this was relying on GNOME,
Joe, on
basically.
Which
your servers at work, what are you running on your servers?
You don't want to know.
I
No.
do
sure
want
we
to know.
do.
Well,
Yeah.
most of it's Red Hat now, but for the longest
Yeah.
time, we had a lot of servers that were actually SunOS right before they went out of business.
Okay.
They went out of business, and then most everything converted to Red Hat. My job used to be a lot more command line than it is now, but anymore, I haven't SSH'd into any of the servers.
You say
And
SunOS, do you mean Solaris or something even more further back than that?
SunOS and Solaris, I think SunOS is the older version of it, but I think it was
Okay.
probably Solaris that was the version that we had.
Because I still have an Open Indiana virtual box running, and that's something that's holding on for dear life.
Yeah, SunOS is also known as Solaris.
Okay.
So because Ubuntu is apparently clearly investing more and more into being a better and better server OS, I think what would make sense in the main as well is for them to give more freedom for the desktop users, because for okay, Ubuntu is the same Ubuntu for desktop usage and server, but on the RHEL side you have Fedora for personal usage on the desktop or workstations, and you have CentOS and the rest for the server. And on the Fedora installer, even though if you download the Fedora workstation ISO, it's only GNOME, but they have a net installer, which lets you choose other desktops or even just do a headless installation.
Well, that's
Just
where
to,
the
yeah,
flavors and the remixes come in, right?
yeah. No, I mean yes, but on top of that they have a minimalized, so that doesn't have any packages for any desktops in it.
Oh,
And
Ubuntu core.
yeah, no, I'm Fedora, not
Oh,
Fedora.
core.
It's
Core.
called
Okay.
Fedora. It's called Fedora everything, because you can select any desktop within, and you have with the same ISO you can install any spin, essentially. But you can also just select Fedora minimal, and then it will just do a minimal system base, and I think network manager as well. And then you can it's you end up like with something that's completely headless like Arch. And I just did that today because I wanted to try Fedora with XFCE. But if I install the Fedora XFCE spin, I will get some unwanted packages like DNF Dragora, which is the GUI package manager, which I
Yeah.
didn't want to get. So I just did a headless Fedora install, and I installed XFCE specific packages. So what I really want to have Ubuntu to do, and what would actually get me to use Ubuntu, if they used to have a minimal ISO that you install on the desktop, and you don't have GNOME, you just have a headless system and you install whatever you want. But now they only have the regular Ubuntu with GNOME and Ubuntu server. So I did, and I did see some people saying on the internet you can just install Ubuntu server on the desktop and then install a desktop on top of that, and you have a minimal Ubuntu system. But it also has it seems to have a lot of server specific stuff installed. And interestingly,
It's got a
it seemed
different
like
network manager too.
yeah, and interestingly, it also had GNOME installed by default. So, so I guess it's the same as Red Hat. So even though it runs headless, you do have GNOME if you want to.
So you wind up with like a vanilla GNOME, like the previous before they shifted
No,
back to
that's
GNOME
interesting. I
Community.
didn't even start GNOME because I just wanted to install XFC, so I removed GNOME. Didn't even occur to me to install
Okay.
GNOME. So, but no, wait, I did start it, and if you install GNOME, the regular GNOME, without any uh, Ubuntu specific themes, then the default background will be the Debian 11 background.
Interesting.
That's
So,
an interesting release reg.
out of the
That makes
box, does
sense.
it have an X11 session, or do you have to install all that?
No,
The
if you
GNOME
install
group will come with the X11 dependencies.
because
I
if
got
you
you.
install GNOME on any distro, it will have both the X11 and the Wayland session. The only exception I found is Tumbleweed, because in Tumbleweed, if you install GNOME, you will have the X11 session. If you if you select GNOME, you will have both. But if you go into the manual package selection, we have a different checkbox for GNOME X11 and GNOME Wayland.
Yeah, their
Okay.
installer is really thorough on SUSE.
Yeah. So say that again, Sousa. Yes, Sousa.
Susie,
Susie.
The big
So-
difference I've experienced is like this server right here. I've got Ubuntu 2110 server on. The minute I installed that, I got an email from Canonical from a customer service representative wanting to know if everything went okay. And then I install 5 copies of Ubuntu desktop everywhere, and nobody ever said a word. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
well, and this is Ubuntu server uses NetPlan as their network manager also. So if you're going to, which the configuration for that is a YAML in the etc directory, which is far different from network manager. So they must have found, or they must have decided that that's a
Tom,
better.
SUSE also uses something called Wicked by default instead of
Yeah,
Network Manager.
I've used
and
Wicked on MX. Yeah,
it was, and the way I found that because it was unusually slow to boot the system. And apparently, if you on the installation summary screen for Tumbleweed, you can just switch from Wicked to either no network management tool or network manager. And when I switched to network manager, it was way faster to boot. So what's interesting, if you do a headless Tumbleweed install and you just install GNOME shell, you will only, or in GNOME session, you will only have the X11 session. There's a separate package called GNOME-session-Wayland. So somehow they package it in a way that you don't have both sessions in the same package.
I was using Wayland a lot until I started doing this, and then it just wasn't an option because it doesn't work on OBS.
I think this is going to be the year of Wayland. I think that because Ubuntu's pushing it forward now, I think this might be the year that finally people start really pushing it hard to take.
Well, OBS is going to have to get it working then because.
Oh, Wayland, it works on OBS, no?
I tried getting it working. What was it last week, Joe? And I had to switch.
If you install OBS on Fedora, then it works out of the box.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's another example of why. I mean, Nishant is not
there's
here,
got
but
to
he was
wait.
asking.
Got to be a way to make it work then.
Hmm. But
That's what I'm thinking.
the thing about Xorg is that X11 is a protocol, if I understand it correctly, and Xorg is the implementation. But with Wayland is a protocol, and each desktop that uses Wayland has a different
Yeah.
implementation.
You know.
So if OBS makes it the GNOME Wayland session work with OBS, that doesn't mean if you have, for example, the Plasma Wayland session or the Sway Wayland session, they have to also make those work separately. So
Yeah.
isn't that more complicated than just using Xorg everywhere and having the same implementation? I
Yeah,
mean,
I just think that
the
if you've already got Red Hat behind it, you've already got Fedora. So now if Ubuntu switches to it and sticks with it for the next LTS, that's massive pressure because you have the two biggest.
Yeah, but
yeah,
what Norbert's saying is now all the desktops have to get. Isn't it more
Right.
complicated now because now all the desktops have
Oh,
to
definitely, it's going to be, but
incorporate that into their
they'd have to. I mean, if you've got those two big players behind it, then I mean, what choice do you have? Almost, you know.
um, Fedora does have, but I think it's the fact that GNOME, if you install GNOME on Arch, then it will default to Wayland. So I think GNOME itself has Wayland as default, and if a distro doesn't want to do that, they have to explicitly set Xorg as a default. But if you install Fedora with Fedora Workstation, so the main distro with and the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, I think it still doesn't switches to defaulting to X11. And what I've heard that is the upcoming Fedora 36 will be the first version to default to Wayland even on the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, because I've tried running it on Wayland with the NVIDIA, and it seems to be working fairly well. I had some issues with not being able to do screen recording with OBS because initially it felt like it was limiting my refresh rate to the refresh rate that I was recording with. And the second time I tried installing Fedora and doing Wayland screen recording, I couldn't even start OBS because it has some issues. Because I think apparently they have two different packages for FFmpeg, one in the Fedora repos and one in RPM Fusion. But I had the RPM Fusion version installed, but it still wouldn't work. And one time it did work, but after rebooting it wouldn't work again. So I kind of given up on Wayland on NVIDIA and wait for the next Fedora release to try it again.
Yeah.
Because I've been using Wayland on my laptop almost day one. Because when I started using Manjaro defaulted to Wayland. So even before I knew what Wayland was, I was using it. But on the desktop,
KDE is working on Wayland a whole lot too. So I just think there's a whole lot of momentum behind it right now.
I've been on KDE's Wayland desktop for since before they said it worked right. And then when I started doing this, of course, I had to switch it back. There was paper cut things. You had a lot of problems with copy and paste with Firefox.
Yeah.
You would do it once and it wouldn't work. You'd do it twice and it might work. Beyond that, it seemed like it. The thing that I did like is that it seemed as though this is one of those laptops that's got the i7 and the NVIDIA graphics card.
Oh yeah, the hybrid.
Yeah, Wayland just seemed to know what to do with both of those video cards. The stuff that needed the direct rendering would use it, and the stuff that didn't, I didn't even have to mess around with the Optimus Manager or anything like that, which, by the way, is not, as far as I know, is not supported on Wayland.
Oh, well, that's kind of nice.
So
do you mess with that at all, Joe? Do you use Wayland, or are you just all on X11?
X11.
Well, you can't really right now because of OBS Studio, but I don't know what the status is of their supporting Wayland. That's one of the last holdouts.
There's also the issue of X Wayland. So it's not enough that the desktop session is running on Wayland. Each application, if you want to use it, it would either have to be made compatible with Wayland, otherwise it would just be using X Wayland.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is there's something you can do where you can add a environment with variable to the beginning of the command.
This
I
almost
think when
sounds like a good topic for innards at some point.
Yeah.
We could probably discuss this. X11 versus Wayland. I know it's been done a million times, but considering where it's at right now.
It's we're at the
Maybe
cusp
maybe in a
right
couple of
now.
months.
Right,
So
working on the
maybe
threshold.
maybe around April when both Fedora and Ubuntu will release. Maybe
Yeah,
that would be a
that
good time to
would
discuss it.
Good topic.
Okay, so Wayland will not get any better if people don't use it anymore. That is, for people to use it, then it has to be the default because the majority of people just use the default. So if Fedora does it, that's great. But Ubuntu also has. So that was one of my predictions that I think Ubuntu 21.10 was supposed to have Wayland enabled on NVIDIA, but I tried it and it wasn't. So one of my predictions was that the next version, the LTS, will have it enabled, but not as default. And 22.10 will make Wayland default on NVIDIA drivers.
The nightly on 2204 has Wayland enabled. That's not saying they won't undo that.
Yeah,
but
it
for
should,
now does.
I did say that if you install Fedora Workstation and switch to the NVIDIA drivers, it will default to X11, but you still have the option in the login manager to switch to Wayland. But the way I never do that because that if you install the workstation, if you have package kit and there's normal software center, and I just prefer to do package updates manually. So I do a minimal install and then install non-shell on top of that. And if I do it that way, then obviously because at point I still don't have the NVIDIA drivers, so it will default to Wayland. But if I do the minimal non-install and I install the NVIDIA drivers and I reboot, it will still default to Wayland. So somehow that's the stuff that tells the Fedora to switch to X11 if I install the drivers is left out if I just do minimal install, which is interesting. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe they will undo that in the Ubuntu Nightly. Maybe they have it enabled so they can test it.
Well, yeah, we want this really bad.
For sure. I mean, that's what the interim releases are for, to give it a try and see how it works out.
But
But Wayland's going on, what, a decade of trying to get it, wedged in there.
Yeah, and that just goes back to what Norbert was saying, because unless people start using it, nobody's going to start making it any better.
So I was just on the Fedora Wikipedia page the other day, and there's a screenshot there, and the description is Fedora 21, a version that brought experimental Wayland and high DPI support. It was in 2014, so it's less than 10 years. I mean, because I think Fedora just follows norms, so maybe that's when normal so implemented this. It's experimental. Yeah. What gives me a lot of confidence in Wayland is that after the recent decisions that System 76 have been making, I trust their decisions, and I think the new desktop will focus mainly on Wayland. And because they sell hardware that has NVIDIA video cards in it, graphics cards, that they must know what they're doing, because I think maybe in a little more than a year they will release their desktop.
I'm sorry, I need to switch gears real quick because I just remembered this. I installed one of those games that I picked up during the Steam sale, and that was Batman Arkham Knight. And Joe, I remember you said you had some stuttering issues with Borderlands 2 when you originally installed it on Linux. Like my frame rate is staying very consistent, but I'm getting those same kind of
stutterings and a bit of artifacting.
Yeah. So you said it was a shader issue?
Vulkan shader, yeah.
Yeah, so how do you go about...
No, you don't really... I set... The original problem I had was that it spent hours trying to generate the Vulkan shaders before it opened the game. What I ended up doing was letting the Vulkan shaders act in the background, and then so I get those artifactings and a bit of the stuttering, but it eventually clears up if I play it long enough.
Yeah, okay, maybe I didn't stay on long enough. I'll have to see. But yeah, I ended up with stutters even though the frame rate was staying like at 60. It was playing really well, but occasionally it would just get really choppy. but I keep that Steam overlay for the FPS in the corner of the screen, and it was just staying, very close to, if not 160. So it was kind of interesting. It was like a delay in frame times every once in a while. So I'm sure if it was trying to process that or something was going on. But I didn't stream the game very long either, so maybe that's why. Check it out.
What about the Steam Deck? Will the Steam Deck use Wayland or X11? Because if I assume
It's
that,
probably going to be X.
because I assume that when you when you go into the plasma session, that is a separate session from. So the main UI for the Steam Deck, the sort of Steam Big Picture mode UI, that has nothing to do with plasma. So if it doesn't, then it would probably use X.
Yeah,
Because
I think
because
X.
wait, when is it coming in February? The Steam Deck?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the next target date. Remember, they've already pushed it back once, so we'll see if it actually occurs or not. But I would assume that they're going to try to keep things as stable as possible. Given the fact that they're using Arch as an underpinning now, they probably don't want to push new technologies right to the front. Or I should say, not new. Wayland's definitely new, but more untested technologies. I would think that they're going to see that too. Alright, gents, well, I think that's going to do it for me. I'm going to hop off. So, I will see you guys on Sunday.
Yep.
Take care. Oh,
Alright,
and
you
Joe, I need to get some information from you eventually about those headphones to send them to you.
Oh, yeah. I'll ping you.
So whenever you get a chance. Okay. You guys take care. I'll see you soon.
you too.
Bye, everybody.
See you then.
Bye.
Okay, do you guys want me to end the stream?
Go right ahead.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Theo says there's a lot of hiss and tapping. I don't know what he means.
Oh, well.
When you talk, I hear it.
Oh, that's my fan. Probably now. Was it always there, or was it just in the last like 30 minutes or so?
I'm not sure. I didn't notice it, so maybe just hear something.
Computer, turn off switch 1.
That is so cool.
What are you, on the bridge of the Enterprise?
Something like that. Did that fix the hissing?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
What was that?
It was my fan.